And then again, just thank everybody for joining us today for our virtual Q&A on student success and academic accessibility. Again, my name is Jason Mogan. I work in the Admission and Financial Aid Office. Congratulations to all of our admitted students on becoming future Bulldogs. We're so excited to have you. We're going to start with introductions with all of our panelists. So panelists, if you wouldn't mind, I'll ask each of you to introduce yourselves, and you can share your office, how long you've been with UNC Asheville, and maybe just a very brief introduction to the support that your office provides. So Anne-Marie, how about we start with you?
Sure. I'm Anne-Marie Roberts, Associate Director of Academic Advising here at UNC Asheville. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm actually an alumna of the university, class of 2011. So I liked it so much I came back. And so I do kind of have that perspective from the student side of it and now from the staff side. Within our advising office is really the core hope and belief of student success. So we want your students to succeed, however that might look, because we offer different support services, help with registration, help with figuring out their academic and curriculum path, as well as we know that life sometimes happens and gets in the way of academics. So we also kind of provide support in those ways as well.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Regina, would you mind introducing yourself next?
Not at all. Hi, I'm Regina Kreiser. I'm the Director of Student Success here at UNCA, and I'm also an Associate Professor of German. And I've been at UNCA since 2013. And I work very closely with Anne-Marie. In my role, I oversee the Office of Academic Advising and our great team of Student Success Specialists. And those student success specialists are going to become your primary academic advisor in the first year while you're here with us. And so our office also oversees course ambassador programs, so students involved in your classes. We work closely with our colleagues in student affairs about the Ignite program, which is a great peer advising program in the first year seminars. So there's a lot of work that's happening. And I always say, like, if you are kind of looking for some support and you don't know exactly what you need, the Academic Success Center and the Office of Advising is a great place to start, because even if we're not the right place for what you're looking for, we definitely know how to connect you and where to connect you to. Thanks for being here tonight.
Regina, thank you. And Deaver, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself in your office.
Sure. I'm Deaver Trawick. I've worked at UNC Asheville since 2010 in various ways supporting student success. And tonight I'm here representing the Office of Academic Accessibility. Sometimes this is called the Office of Disability Resources at other universities, but effectively, we are the place where students with a documented disability can come to apply to receive accommodations and what we like to call just access to our campus and our curriculum. And so we are here to make sure that happens, and I'm happy to talk more tonight about how you can get in touch with us if that's something you're interested in. Thanks.
Thank you all for being here. So a number of questions came in the past few days, and so I've categorized them for us. We have what I'm calling academic opportunities, and then course registration, general student support services, and accommodations. So I thought that we could walk through these questions, and then I'll remind all of our attendees, if other questions come up for you, if you feel inspired by this conversation about any particular topic, please use the Q&A feature, and we'll answer all of those questions live for you during the session. So let's start with academic opportunities. These are questions around declaring majors, academic experiences that are available, and just the landscape of academics at UNC Asheville. So the first one is pretty simple. It's, when do I have to declare my major? What does that process look like?
I can probably answer that one. So students can declare their major their first semester if they know what they want to do and know what they want to take. There is a form on our registrar's website. It is a digital form, goes through electronically, and you get assigned a faculty advisor once you declare your major. You don't have to declare until 60 credit hours, or what is also known as your junior year, junior standing. And some departments do have prereqs to declare, so certain courses or auditions to complete before you can declare.
Thank you. And another student, as a follow-up, was really curious about pre-professional programs. What do we have available? Which ones are pretty common that students pursue?
I would say, and Anne-Marie and Diva Anne-Marie can help me out on that one. I think the most common one that we have is pre-med. We have a very established, we have a pre-med advisor in place, and so really support in place for students to work with that person, and to also even from as soon as they know that they want to pursue a pre-med kind of path, and share with that individual like what medical direction they're actually interested in, and they help them kind of figure out what courses they would need in order to be, you know, best prepared for that track. And they also just recently added an optional class to prepare for the MCAT, I think is the exam that you need to take for medical school. So that is established here, but we also have legal studies, which some would consider might be somewhat a pre-professional degree, but those are the ones that are at the top of my head. I don't know, Anne-Marie, if you can think of any others.
Yeah, I think pre-professional would be dentistry, PA school, anyone wanting to go for their MD, those sorts of things. Pre-law, pre-health, those are the typical ones that I hear.
Amazing. And UNC Asheville is actually really well regarded for undergraduates being able to do research with faculty members. And in fact, over 60% of our students engage with research at some point during their undergrad years. So one of the questions was, how possible is it for students to work with professors to publish research? And maybe you can speak not only to the fact that it is possible, but how do students actually pursue those opportunities?
That's a great question. I think it's so truly it is very possible for a lot of our students. We are a founding campus, or the founding campus of the Undergraduate Research Association. And so I think a lot of students start pursuing this maybe in their junior and senior year, even though there are students who already get involved with this in their first year and in their sophomore year. So for some majors, this is an integrated expectation that is part of your degree, that you participate in some kind of research. That is particularly true in our natural sciences. They are kind of the experience in the lab and working on research projects is part of your degree process, but you can also engage in research alongside professors in social sciences and the humanities. There's an opportunity every semester to present at the Undergraduate Research Symposium. And if you want to, you can also then submit a paper to the Undergraduate Research Journal. And beyond that, then there are some opportunities to submit a paper alongside with fellow students, and usually a co-author that is an instructor to one of the journals in the field. So again, I think the publications are more common in the natural sciences just because of how publications in those disciplines work, but undergraduate research, kind of finding the questions that really interest you and pursue it alongside with the guidance of instructor who has worked in the field, that is an opportunity for every one of our students.
I'm going to follow up by providing two hyperlinks in the chat that I think people would appreciate. One is a link to a recent event that we had on campus, the Creative Activity and Research Forum, where students across disciplines got to present their research and creative projects. And then another is a link to the Undergraduate Research Journal that Regina mentioned. So students are really engaged in this space. I'm going to move to some very logistical questions for the three of you, and they're really centering around credits and required hours. So for starters, what are the minimum hours allowed for enrollment for first-year students? And then how does credit transfer from AP tests and community colleges?
So I take the first part and Anne-Marie takes the second part because she's so much better at that second part that I always like. I need to look at 15 documents and she has it at the top of her head. The minimum hours to be a full-time student are 12 credit hours. So if you plan to be a full-time student at UNCA, you need to be registered for at least 12 credit hours, which is usually between 3 to 4 classes. And then we encourage students to take between 15 to 16 credit hours. That seems like a reasonable course load for most students. So minimum credit hours, 12. And Maria, I hand it to you for the 8 transfers.
Sure. So we receive AP credit. What you need to do is send it directly from College Board, even if it's on your high school transcripts. We need that original test. We're also aware that they often don't come in until July. So as you're building your schedule, what we recommend is just kind of steering away from classes that you have taken the AP test in and that you're waiting for scores on. If you feel pretty confident from the exam that you're probably going to pass, if you've done well that semester, we just encourage you, like, maybe don't register for the English writing course, Lang 120, for example. And so we need those scores directly from College Board. Any early college transcripts we need directly from the community college. And I did want to see if I could share a link in the, oh, I think Regina already shared it. Okay. There's a transfer resource here on our advising website. And so you can see how things transfer over and what specific AP scores equate to what class. It's fine if the credits don't match up, if that makes sense. So like you took a 3-hour course at a community college and it's 4 hours here, that's okay as long as you get the grade and the credit requirement.
Thank you. And so the next question, I actually feel like you already answered a little bit about how APs impact course selection and graduation requirements. Could you maybe also speak to the same topic, but with community college courses? And so I will say this question is actually asked from a first year perspective. So an incoming high school student who may have done dual enrollment or have their associates under their belt while they're still a high school student coming in, not particular to transfer students.
Yes, we work quite a bit with early college students or dual enrollment. So taking college classes while you're still in high school. And so using the transfer credit equivalency page, you can see how those courses are going to come in. If we don't have your school listed, it doesn't mean we won't accept it. It just means we've never received credit from there before. I will say North Carolina community colleges, we have a special agreement where if you get your associates in arts or science, it will come in a very specific way to fulfill quite a few of your liberal arts core course requirements. So that's a real benefit of coming in with your associate's degree. And again, using the transfer credit audit and equivalency tool is excellent. You do need to send in those final transcripts with those grades, which you'll probably be taking your exams soon if you're at community college. So we do need those final transcripts from the community college with the grades sent to UNCA so that we can articulate that information into your grad plan, which is the degree audit software that we use to see how your credits transfer in and what you still need to take.
And that hyperlink I just included is the credit equivalency tool that you can check out for community colleges, and it has our policy information for AP classes, IB classes, and Cambridge. All right, I'm going to wrap up the academic opportunities question and go into course registration. And really the gist is, how does that work? So we talked a little bit already about how classes from previous schools transfer to count for credits at UNC Asheville. And I will acknowledge one of the questions was about sending final transcripts. You do need to send your final transcript to us in order to be officially enrolled at UNC Asheville. We need to confirm that everything is verified, that you graduated, so that you can start college. And so yes, please get that information in.
But you don't have to send them before you can register.
That's right. Thank you for clarifying, Regina. But one of the questions is just, how do I know what classes to pick as an incoming student?
That is such a great question. And I just put the very, very important website in the chat. It's specifically for first year students, and it walks you through the entire process step by step. It tells you that as a first step, you want to select your first year seminar, which is required for all incoming first year students. And then you might want to consider taking one of the other first year experience classes, which is either Lang 120, which is our critical thinking and writing class, or Humanities 124, which is our beginning class in our humanities sequence. And then it walks you through the process of how to kind of then go from where you are there based on those decisions to having a full first semester schedule. And that depends on if you already know what you want to major in, so you can start taking classes from that major, if you have one or two majors that you want to explore, or if you are in a completely exploratory phase, and then how to pick classes. So it's very clearly step-by-step outlined. On the website, there's a checklist, a step-by-step checklist that you can print if you want to. And so I really, really recommend that that is the first place where you start, and that you take the time to look through all the guidelines and how-tos that are included on that website. You don't need to rush. A registration for first year students opens on May 15th. So you have let me count, you have nearly 2.5 weeks to kind of get ready. And if you can spend one day of that 2.5 weeks to be on that website and fill out your checklist, you will be ready to roll. We also show you on that website the place where you actually go to register for classes. It's a fantastic tool that's called Schedule Planner, where you can plug in all the classes that you want to take, and the tool automatically generates all the schedules that are possible with those kind of course combinations. So that's the answer. Please check out the first year student registration page.
I wish I had that resource when I was in college to map out all of my classes. That would have been really nice. Regina, a question came in the chat that's asking if seminar is required for transfer students. Oh, and
No.
Anne-Marie just answered it in the chat.
It's so fast. Yes.
Sorry.
We're all right on top of it. Thank you, Anne-Marie.
And just as a reminder, once you do register, the student success specialist, so our whole team, we will review your schedule. So I know it can feel stressful to be like, okay, feel like I'm just picking classes and I'm not really sure. We will reach out within a week or two to let you know that this class is on par with what you put in the Slate student information form. You probably filled out an information form about like your major and if you're bringing in any AP or transfer credits. So we are going to use that and review your schedule. So no worries, we will have communication with you that your schedule is on track, or we need to help you get it a little bit more back on track. So
that is such a good point. Thank you for adding that, Anne-Marie. And just so you understand, we really want to make sure that you have agency and independence in building your first semester schedule. And you're also learning how to register for classes, which is something that you will be expected to do during your entire time here at UNCA. But of course, we want to provide a safety net to make sure that at the beginning of the semester, everybody is where they need to be. You're not in classes you don't need credits for, you don't miss any of the classes that you should absolutely take. And so that safety net is in place, and it's explained on the website. Like, we will check in with you and let you know if we have questions or suggestions or concerns.
Anne-Marie and Regina, together you have already kind of answered who helps me decide what to take, and then what do student success specialists do to help me. But before I move on from those questions, is there anything else that you wanted to add that address those particular questions?
Just letting you all know that advisors are here between the hours of 9 to 5 is kind of our office hours. We have walk-ins every day from 12 to 3. During the summer, our walk-ins move a little bit from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Those are the only days for walk-ins, but you can always book an appointment with us at the advising website, advising.unca.edu. It can be a virtual appointment, or we can meet in person on campus and help again kind of figure out what classes you're wanting to take. And as Regina mentioned earlier, the other piece that student success specialists do are to support students when they're having difficult times or don't know where else to go. So I think we're kind of a good starting point if your student has no idea, what to do or who to speak with on campus. We're a great center to start with.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. A question that came through in the Q&A that I would just want to answer out loud live, really to me is more of a, what are the titles here? And a question asked about school counselors versus student success specialists versus advisors. Are those the same thing at UNC Asheville? Are those different people? Can you clarify for us?
That is a great question. So UNCA has an advising model where we have staff who advise, who serve as academic advisors, and then we have faculty who serve as academic advisors. And so an academic advisor is the person who can provide guidance around class selection from one term to the next, who can also support you with some long-term planning, for example, around undergraduate research or study abroad. And so when you start here, until you are declared, you're going to be assigned to one of the student success specialists. And those are staff members in the Office of Academic Advising. And those are going to be people who are going to check in on you pretty regularly during your first semester here to make sure that you're off to a strong start. Of course, some of you might start out and know exactly what you want to major in. And we know that if you know that, it's really important for you to get connected with a faculty member in that department who knows the department, who knows the classes, who knows the opportunities. And so once you declare your major, or once you have an intended major, we're going to work on connecting you with those faculty members. So that's kind of the academic advisors, and student success specialists sometimes also serve as academic advisors, especially for first-year students. What was the other term?
I even just made a couple of them up: the school counselors, academic advisors, faculty advisors.
Yeah, and so I will say, like, we are a different group than, for example, your admissions counselor, right? Your admissions counselor really is working with you, kind of finding your way here. And then once you're here, like, we want to make sure that we can get you connected to all the resources that might be helpful as you navigate your journey here at UNCA. So I think those would be the difference, maybe the immediate differences.
Thank you. I have one more question around academic support, and then Deaver, you have been so patient, and it will be the Deaver show in a second. I'm curious what other academic support services are available to students. Things that come to mind for me are resources like the Writing Center and peer tutoring. Are there others that you find students regularly take advantage of?
math lab. Peer tutoring focuses heavily on biology, chemistry, foreign languages or second languages is a place they frequently support. And so, yeah, so that's our kind of suite: writing center, math lab, and peer tutoring in a variety of subjects are available all the time and free for students. This is not services that have add-on fees. They're just here. All students have to do is visit them during scheduled hours.
Yeah, and remember that we have this whole network to support you with all these different centers and resources, but faculty themselves are also here to support you outside the classroom space. They have office hours. You can work with them directly. And they will also provide help for the coursework that they are teaching during each semester. Deaver, this is great. Thank you for answering that question. I'm going to lead into accommodation.
While we're here really quick, Jason, I just also wanted to make sure everybody here is thinking about the fact we know well, though, as well, that any academic challenge you face is also frequently connected to other things going on. And so whether it's the help, I just want to expand beyond just the academic services, just to remind people that the Student Health and Counseling Center, the Dean of Students Office, the Multicultural Student Affairs Office, our support for first-generation college students and veterans, those are all offices that are happy to support students as well. And sometimes it's about working through an issue that's not just about math or not just about writing. And so I just wanted to sort of make sure people understand there's a network, a kind of a network or constellation of people around our campus. And because we're a relatively small campus, you'll probably see all of them at one point or another.
And then if you're also not sure of who to go to, any one of us knows who you need to talk to or can help you directly.
I just briefly want to mention that starting in the fall, we're going to have what we call Ignite embedded in all first year seminars, and Ignite is a peer support program. So every first year seminar will have what we call a peer advising leader, or PAL, integrated in the classes. And that's a fellow student, probably usually they're at least a sophomore or a junior. And so they've already kind of learned how to navigate campus, and they will provide support and also have regular sessions with you to help you think about kind of figuring out what's important to you and kind of what kind of things do you want to pursue while you are at UNCA, and provide you with ideas and ways to think about how you can become engaged and involved on campus. We know that that's really an important element of being a successful student. It's going to class, it's doing your work, but it's also, becoming engaged in other opportunities on campus. So I'm really excited about what's going to be happening with Ignite in the first year seminars and the kind of support system that is going to be established for our incoming students with that.
Thank you. All right, Deaver, got all the questions for you. I'll try and power through them as quickly as possible because we have a little bit of a time constraint. So first off, in terms of how to engage with accommodations, how early do you recommend that a student start? How early do they need to start to get the support services they're requesting? And Deaver, you're muted right now.
My apologies. Yeah, students can start right now. We are in the midst of a crunch period of proctoring exams for our current students. But the moment exams are over in a week, we're going to start processing applications from new students. I just dropped a link in the chat. That's a page on the website, accessibility.unca.edu. That's the main site. What I link, though, is a frequently asked questions for students. And so I direct students to visit that site. It'll be able to answer a lot of your questions. Keep in mind quickly that in any given semester, between 12 and 13% of UNC Asheville students are registered for and receive accommodations in the Office of Academic Accessibility, there are a greater number of students with disabilities who don't actually come to see us at all. But that application is the way you get started. This is a really important point I want to sort of stop and say explicitly. A different set of laws governs accessibility in the K-12 system and the higher ed system. And so whereas in K-12, the law says that if a disability is documented, it is the school's responsibility to create an accessible environment and curriculum for students. As soon as you make the switch into higher ed, the law says that the responsibility lies on the student to seek that, to apply for that access. That said, like I said, hundreds of students. We work with approximately between 300 and 350 students every semester. And that website will explain the documentation required to accompany an application. And so, yeah, it's a great place to get started. And then those of us in the office will always respond if you have questions during that process. Were there other specific questions, Jason?
Yeah, and then do students need to register every semester for their accommodations?
No, they need to apply once, only once during their time, and they can do it at any time. Just because you didn't do it your first semester or your second semester doesn't mean you can't apply later. And then once you apply, the application, the accommodations you are considered eligible for will be there during your tenure at UNC Asheville. Each semester, we use a system, a user management system, where students go in and request that letters of accommodations be sent to each of their faculty. So that's what does happen every semester. And it's really cool because depending on what the disability or the learning difference is, it could be that in one class, you absolutely want to send a letter of accommodation and receive additional time on tests, for instance. But in other classes, you may decide, nope, that's not a situation that applies in this class. I don't need to send the letter. So each semester, again, the agency, the responsibility lies in the student to decide how they want to communicate about their accommodations with their faculty members. So, the bad news is somebody's not going to do it for you. The good news is you get to become an agent of your own identity and of how you wear that identity in the world, in our world.
Thanks, Deaver. The students want to know what accommodations are available, and I know it's a pretty broad suite. So if you want to give us a broad strokes overview, that would be helpful. I will tell you some specific questions that came up were about emotional support animals on campus, testing accommodations, and then housing accommodations if you need a single for some reason.
All of those are accommodations that we grant, depending if the documentation of the disability and our interpretation of it warrants it. So the two most common classroom accommodations are extended time on testing and alternative setting for testing, or reduced distraction environment, whatever. It means you come to the Academic Success Center and take your tests in our testing center instead of in a classroom with 35 or even 15 people. Those are the two most common academic classroom accommodations. And yes, we do have a lot of applications for emotional support animals. Those have to be documented. The need for that has to be documented by the evidence provided by the students. Single room accommodations, yes, we also provide that as an accommodation to certain disabilities. What I'd like to remind everybody is that it's not a single piece of evidence that often determines this. I consider that there's kind of a tripart structure in our evaluation. The first piece of information is the diagnosis itself. The second is the testimony of the medical professional or clinician seeing that student. And the third is the student's own testimony about how their disability impacts them or, creates a functional limitation. ADHD impacts people very differently, depending on how you might experience that very differently. So yes, there's often an evaluation or a piece of paper that has information on it. A medical professional provides their opinion of what would help the student, and the student themselves explains to us how their disability impacts them. It takes all three of those. One piece of that by itself is not often enough to make a case.
Beaver, thank you for making that so clear. And so I just want to wrap up with all these questions, and I'm pretty confident that you already answered this when you gave the initial overview, but what do you recommend to students? How do they request these accommodations? Who do they go to? Is it just the website that you posted in the chat, or is there any other venue that they should be looking towards?
The fastest thing they can do is to go to that website, click on For Students, and click Apply for Accommodations. That takes you to a system, like I said, a user management system. You create a profile we call it Bulldog Access. You create a profile there, you upload all your documentation, you explain to us what what's going on in your life, what kind of accommodations you used in high school. Those won't transfer, one for one, but that's really useful information for us. That's the fastest way, is just to start an application. It's really that simple. The thing that often takes the longest time is finding that documentation, either finding the evaluation you might have had or having a medical professional make a statement to help you. If you don't want to go that super fast route, you can absolutely write an email several places on that website. Our email, I think it's academicaccess@unca.edu.
Just if I just put the main page in the chat, just because there is a make an appointment button.
Sure, yeah.
And so, like in case somebody, before they move into the,
Yes.
like some people might have some questions, and so there's a discuss a problem, or a general information meeting might be helpful, or even a welcome meeting might be helpful. I think maybe starting with a general information meeting might be good, because you're going to talk to somebody in the office who can provide additional information and guide you through some steps. So that might also be a good start, just for those who might be looking for additional guidance. Sorry to interrupt, Beaver.
No, thank you. I was going to suggest sending an email, but yes, the make an appointment is another way of getting to us directly. And feel free to do that. Each student's case in this situation is highly individual, and we're happy to talk you through. Ultimately, though, what we want to get you to is an application, which provides us the information we need to make a determination of eligibility. And we'd like to do that as quickly as possible, as early as May or June of this year.
Yeah, the name of the game when it comes to everything enrollment is the earlier the better. If you're ready to fill out that form, go ahead and do it so we can start to process it and get you the resources that you need. Deaver, thank you so much for answering all those questions. I want to acknowledge that it's 7:40.
Yep, I've got to step off and go pick up a kid from gymnastics tonight. So thank you all for showing up. I'm gonna step off, and I'll leave it with Regina and Anne Marie. Thank you,
Deaver.
All right, bye.
Bye. Regina and Marie, we just made it through all of the questions that students submitted, and you powered through 20 questions in the Q&A already. And so I just want to invite our attendees, if you have any questions, please, you can put them in the chat, you can put them in the Q&A. We're going to hang around for a little bit and see if there are any questions. And then once we've run out of questions, we'll conclude the Q&A. So I'll give everyone a minute to type out if they need anything in particular.
Right, or if you'd like us to expand on any questions or give a little bit more detail, we're happy to do so.
Yeah. And I'm taking a look through the questions to see if there are any that we want to broadcast out further. I mean, one of the questions that I saw popping up just bit by bit is really the specificity around working with each individual department. When do you find that students really get to engage with that advisor in ancient Mediterranean studies, in engineering? How does that look?
So engineering is a very specific kind of track at UNCA. So you will be getting connected to Ms. Linnea Linden there pretty quickly. And so that is going to happen pretty quickly. But I will say, like, given our size and given our commitment, our shared commitment between faculty and staff to undergraduate education, it's really not that hard to get connected. I will say right now, like if you send emails and people are not immediately getting back to you, please be patient. It's the first day of final exams. We're in the mad rush of the semester. So faculty right now are likely focused on just getting their finals graded, making sure all the grades are in, and making sure we just all make it to graduation. So, so there might be a slight delay, but I will say once you are on campus, it is so easy to just look up when somebody's office hours are and just stop by. Office hours are really student hours. Those are times that faculty have already set aside exclusively for the purpose of meeting with students. And as a faculty member, I have spent a lot of this time checking my email and just longingly staring at the door, like manifesting that somebody please walk through, And so I really encourage you to make use of that. But also, if you're not sure, you can start here at the Academic Success Center, and we can make a first contact and introduce you either, like we can walk over with you, or we can introduce you via email. And our faculty are truly excited to meet you. They want to connect with you. You want to know more about ancient Mediterranean studies. The people in that major, will be so ready to talk with you. And I feel like in every major, this is because it's so special, and I, again, say that as a faculty member, if somebody comes up and be like, I'm so interested in German. You just made my day. Let's talk. I mean, you will not keep me, you're not going to get me to stop talking. So it's really easy to make those connections. But I understand that sometimes, it might feel awkward to just walk up to somebody's office. We understand that, and we're happy to assist in making initial connections if that would be helpful.
Thank you. Anne-Marie, I see that you're typing out an answer to that question, but I actually think that's a good one to answer out loud for everybody. How worried should students be about not getting into a class in their schedule?
So go ahead, Anne-Marie. Go ahead. You were already typing.
Oh, well, I think there's a couple of pieces to this question. One, I was going to message you privately, Simon, to see why you might need a faculty override. So that's one thing that our office works with. Perhaps you might need a prerequisite for a class, things like that. So we can definitely help you navigate that. But to answer the question more specifically about worrying about not getting into a course, you might see some of the courses closed at this point. However, please note we are actually saving seats for you all. So we've actually we pulled aside seats for the first year class because we want you to be able to get the classes that you need. So if you're seeing things closed like FYS 178, Lang 120, Humanities 124, those traditional first year classes, don't despair, because more than likely you will get a spot. And we also have the wait list, which you can utilize, and it runs all summer. So you just add yourself during registration. And what happens is, if a student drops the class over the summer, you will have 24 hours to go back in and add yourself to the class. So you'll actually be able to get registered for it. And Regina, I know you had some comments.
I was just trying to find all the information. And so, I was just looking at all the platforms that we have. And so, Simon, I don't know why you think you might need to talk to a faculty advisor first. And so I would actually say, if you could either email me or Anne-Marie with your specific concerns, or why you think you need to meet with a faculty advisor first, then we can really provide some dedicated support, and we can get back to you about this tomorrow. At the latest. I think for the majority of students, you don't have to meet. If you are a first year student, you don't have to meet with an academic advisor before you can register for classes or build your schedule. You follow the website. Or if you're in engineering, like you are actually registered for your classes. So this happens on our end. So yeah, Simon, please feel free to kind of check in via email with Anne-Marie and I, so we can really make sure. And other than that, everything that Anne-Marie has said stands. For example, if you look at the schedule right now, all the first year seminars are closed because they're for nobody else but you. And so we were like, no, we're not even going to try, to get in trouble and be like, have people register for them. We're like, no, this is not for you. So we'll keep them closed until, May 15th, when it's your time to register. And so we did that for a couple of classes that we know that usually needed by first year students. And also, I think Anne-Marie nailed that.
I did want to go ahead and advertise as well that we're going to be doing registration labs specifically for first year students. So we actually did one this evening, and there were only 2 people, so they got specialized attention with 2 advisors. But we basically walk you through the process of using Grad Plan, which I mentioned earlier is the degree audit, and also how to use the registration system. So I think once you see it visually, it makes a little bit more sense on how to register.
Amazing. Anne-Marie, Regina, are there any final words that you'd like to leave with our attendees today before they enroll at UNC Asheville?
We are so excited. We are so excited to meet you all, and I'm so excited to interact with you. Like some of you, we might not meet till August, but with every one of you, we're going to connect in some way over the summer. And we are just so excited to have you here at UNCA. I think the second thing is everything is going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. I know this feels like, I can imagine this is like such a stressful process because you want to get it super right. You don't want to miss a class. So I really just want to say, it's going to be okay. The steps are all outlined on the website. We trust that you know how to register with the support that you have, and we have the safety network. There's no way for you, even if you get something wrong, we'll catch it. We'll check in and we're like, hey, you said you want to be a biology student, but you haven't registered for any biology classes. What happened? And you can say like, oh, I don't want to be a biology student anymore. And then we're like, that's great. So we are here to support you. And I really, the last thing I want to say is like, don't hesitate to reach out. Don't hesitate to be in touch. Like if you really want more kind of hands-on support for registration, make use of the registration labs. We have more coming up, and you can find that information on the website as well. And that is fully focused on just the process of designing a schedule and then registering for those classes. If you have questions over the summer, and you're just like, I don't know who to ask this question, just email me. I would be happy. Just email Anne-Marie, or if you have already gotten in touch, or if somebody, a student success specialist, has gotten in touch with you, reach out to them. We are here to help, and we really want to make sure that this is as smooth a process as possible, and that you can focus on the excitement about the step and less on the stress that comes with it sometimes.
Yeah, I would just say if you remember nothing else, because it's a lot of information, but you can go back and rewatch this. But if you remember nothing else, write down our emails, remember our names, sort of, if you want, but mostly just remember that we are here to help you navigate the curriculum, the courses, getting registered, and even beyond that. Honestly, we're a great resource to come to. If you don't know where your class is on the first day, and we can help you find it, or if you're trying to get connected to the Health and Counseling Center, because you might be struggling with homesickness or depression, we can help you do that as well. So if nothing else, just remember our emails.
Y'all are fantastic. We're so lucky to have you. Thank you so, so much for all of this really helpful information. And I'll just remind everybody, if you really don't know where to go, you have your applicant portal, which is your hub for everything, and admissions at unca.edu. Even we can direct you to any resource, including Regina and Anne-Marie. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for all of the excellent questions. Thank you, Anne-Marie, Regina, and Deaver for presenting tonight. And we hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks, everybody.